So Jim, Jenny and I went into town. I got slaps on the back, basically, of loads of people that just saw me fucking smash Gutsy's teeth in, basically. He ended up with a big swollen cheek on his face, and he just ended up with a big fucking busted lip. And that was going to go around the town like wildfire. People were going to know about that within minutes, and I was glad of that because I wanted Patojo to fucking hear that because I was going for him next. And I was going to go for Sabbath, and I was going to go get that fucking Freddy guy with the knife. You know, they were the 4 main guys that had given me and David shit, and I was going to go for them guys. They were all going to get it. It was as simple as that. That's my mind had just now fucking, my head went tilt, and the switch in my head fucking had just flipped. That was it. So I was getting people saying, well done, that fucking guy deserved it. You know, they saw what happened. They saw fucking Jenny got smacked in the ass. She was absolutely terrified. We went into Fido's, and it wasn't... you know, even Jim was a big guy, and he was quite shocked. And I told him the story, like of Gutsy and these other guys, and you know what they were going to do. And fucking Jim was wired. He was wired to go. Joe, you know, Jim was a door kicker. He's one of these guys that you break fucking glass in case of emergency and let loose the dogs of war. This guy had seen a lot of action, Northern Ireland, Falklands, you know, and probably some other shit around the world too. And this guy was ready to rock and roll, and he was like, "I've got your back, Cole." And I was like, no mate, don't be getting yourself in trouble because you're out here, you know, with your unit and stuff and blah. He says, fuck that shit, you know. He was in Belize many times. So we met some of the TA guys that had been diving with us and stuff. It was a good crack. They'd heard what was going on. These guys were going to go on the fucking warpath, you know. And I was like, no guys, don't be getting yourself in trouble, you know. Don't be fucking doing any of this crack, you know what I mean. Just enjoy the diving, you know what I mean. This will resolve itself, you know. Blah blah blah. The whole night Jenny was visibly shaken. She was never used to anything like that before, and being in a predominantly, in a totally foreign country, with different races of people, she was just visibly shaken, and she wasn't comfortable at all, and I felt really sorry for her, but I kind of forced her to stay out downtown with me. Even though she wanted to go back, I was like, don't be giving in. This just one guy, you know, everybody, you'll see how nice everybody down here is, you know what I mean? Black, white, blue, yellow, Chinese, whatever. You know, you can't tar everybody with the same brush, you know. Jenny was raised in Dublin, a predominantly white area where there was no Indians and, you know, no black people, you know, nobody of any other creed or colour. And she wasn't used to, you know, the different ethnicities. And she didn't know how to handle it at all. But she, you know, I was right. We had people coming over to us. We had local people apologising to her. Loads of the local girls came over and were asking if she was okay. You know, did they want to go off and have a dance with her? And Jenny fucking stuck to me like glue. She was terrified. So the local girls were really nice. You know what I mean? They'd probably had bullshit with Gutsy and his crew before. So they were coming over. One of the girls was a hairdresser, and she said that for me to bring Jenny down tomorrow and she would braid her hair for free. And that really made Jenny smile. And she says, look, you know, we're not bad people. This is just one arsehole, you know what I mean, of these guys. This is where my shop is, and I knew where her shop was. You know, bring your wife down tomorrow. I'll do her hair for free. We'll have a coffee, we'll have a Coke, we'll have a couple of drinks, we'll sit back and, you know, we'll have a bit of fun. And I did that, you know what I mean. So the night was kind of a bit tetchy. You know, I was definitely tense. I just wanted to fucking stand on Gutsy's throat and snatch the fucking life out of him, to be honest. And I had in my head now that these are the 3 fucking guys. When I seen them, fucking 3 of them or 1 of them, and they were going to get it. My fucking mind had flipped. So we just started having a bit of crack, me and Jim, and we saw the para guys, and we saw some of the TA guys, and they were coming over and asking us what happened. You know, the fucking guys were like, if you need any backing, there's enough of us down here, we'll fucking wreck the joint. You know what I mean? And I'm like, no, guys, don't be silly. This is just one fucking asshole, blah, 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 blah. And that was it. So, we left about 2 in the morning. We didn't walk down the beach because the beach was quite dark. We walked down the main road where there was lights. Because you wouldn't have known who would have been waiting for you if anything, you know, if you'd had any more friends. So I wasn't going to, you know, take that chance with Jenny there, to be quite honest. You could have got a knife in the guts. You could have got something banged over the back of your head or anything, because people had been attacked down there. And, you know, I just was being cautious. If I'd have been on my own, I wouldn't give a fuck. I wouldn't have cared. because I had Jim with me, but with Jenny it was a different thing. I didn't want her to experience any more fucking drama or trauma that she needed to than she did, you know, that night. So the next morning anyway, I invited Jim down to Dave's for a coffee. We all got down to Dave's about 7:30. I told Dave what happened. Dave's fucking eyes popped out of his head. Dave was like a kid. Fucking really, Cole, really? Well, fucking, you know, tell me the crack. He was like a kid. He wanted to know all the details. So I was telling, you know, Dave what happened. I was telling him about, you know, Guana Jack, and Dave was fucking raging. He wasn't happy about that. And I told him, and he goes, I'm gonna fucking have a word with Jack. That's fucking out of order. You know what I mean? Fucking, I do favors for Jack. Jack comes to the fucking restaurant. He can go fuck himself now. He's not coming in here. You know what I mean? All this type of stuff. And so Dave wasn't happy with that. So, as I say, Dave was like a kid. He wanted the details of what was happening, and I told him about smashing Gutsy's fucking face in, and Dave was fucking leaping. His eyes were all over the place, and he was like a 5-year-old kid in a fucking candy store, you know. Dave loved details, and you know, and he regretted not being there and all this type of stuff. But Sue was obviously up getting cancer treatment. He couldn't afford to get into any dramas. Dave was a Belizean citizen, you know what I mean. So there probably wasn't going to be too much going to happen to him. Me, on the other hand, I was a guest down there. I was working on a dive permit license, which could be taken off me. But Police Inspector David was a nice guy. He knew the drama. He took my side over everything, and so that was that. Introduced Dave to Jim. They got on like a house on fire. Jim was going to dive with us that morning because he had, I think it was 10 para TA unit, were down, and they were going to dive with us that morning. And then we had some guys from 2-3 SAS in the afternoon with us. So we were going to be quite busy, quite full. So the day went well. I took Jenny into town that morning while Richie took the divers diving. I told Dave about the young girl. He says, yep, Cole, take Jenny down, get her hair done, mate, fucking go chill out. Diving in the afternoon if you don't mind, no problem at all. So Gary was in that morning, so him and Richie, you know, took over the diving and stuff. I took Jenny down, a young girl called Vanessa, that we met the night before. She was Miss San Pedro. She was an absolute beautiful girl. Jenny was gorgeous. Jenny was a little blonde-haired girl, blue-eyed, you know, the girl next door type. And they got on really well. And it was the first time that Jenny had her hair done in braids and cornrows, and she loved it. And she was there for about 6 hours. I took her down, sat for a little while, got off, did my bits and pieces, and then came back and got her. I offered Vanessa some money. Vanessa pushed my hand away, you know what I mean? She says no. She says that's just not right what had happened. She says I had nobody in this morning anyway for hair done. She goes, I loved meeting your wife. I wasn't married, but they call her your wife. So she's a lovely girl, you know, blah 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 blah, and told Jenny that she hoped she'd seen her again before she went home, and they would end up going out a couple of times with me, not too far away from them, just to make sure everyone was good. So, yep, a week later, I had to go to court, and I got a $250 fine, which was okay. The inspector said that was going to happen to me. It's just how things were, and not to be worried about that. It's just, you know, that's how it was going, because I was in trouble and I'd been fighting, and it was just normal. There was no police record. It was just a fine, and that was all fine and dandy. Iguana Jack was there at court, and he was asked why he didn't intervene or do anything, and the judge, who was quite a nice guy, was absolutely appalled at the fact that Jenny had been assaulted in San Pedro, because that's a big thing that was frowned upon, because tourists are what kept San Pedro going. So this judge, and I can't remember his name for the life of me, was a nice guy. He was a barrister from the UK, of Caribbean descent, and he was basically the judge for Belize. And it was a Tuesday that we went to court. Gutsty was fined $3,000 US. I was fined 250 Belize. Gutsy had a restraining order against him, and he was told that because he hadn't been to court for quite a few years, if he had been done again, he was going to get about 5 years in Hattieville. And Hattieville was a prison on the mainland, which was like the Bangkok Hilton. You got in there, you got beat on a daily basis, you lived in a cell with 30, 40 other people with a hole in the corner where you shit and pissed in. There's no showers. You might have got 30 minutes out of your cell. There was no beds, no blankets, no nothing. And you only got fed if you had relatives that brought something in for you. And if you got fed, there was probably going to be a massive fight for the food in that cell. So it wasn't a good place. And Gutsty was threatened that if he was in any bullshit again within that next year or so, he was gonna go to Hattieville prison. The judge apologized to me. He apologized for fining me. He just says that, you know, because I'd been, you know, because I was a guest on the island, you know, this was a normal thing to do, and he just apologized for, you know, being assaulted and having to go through this. And you know, then the police inspector had stood up for me. David, he stood up for me and said that I had reported this a few times before, so that there was a record of abuse from Gutsty towards me. The inspector basically told him if I was assaulted to defend myself. So that came out of his mouth. The judge agreed with it, and I thanked the judge and I thanked the inspector, and left court a very, very happy man. So I immediately went and I bought the biggest bottle of Caribbean rum that I could possibly buy, which was back then about 35, 40 Belize dollars for a massive fucking, I think it was like a 2.5 gallon fucking bottle of whiskey, bottle of Caribbean rum. It was absolutely massive. I took that and put it in the bag, and I went to the police station, sat down with the inspector, had a little tot with him, and I gave him the bottle and I thanked him very much. We shook hands, bumped fists, and everything was cool. And he reiterated to me again that if any dramas happened, to come and see him straight away.